to the bacon, in the bacon, fat, to the bacon, in the bacon, fat, all tastes like bacon, fat, and it all tastes like bacon, in the bacon, to the bacon, in the bacon, fat, to the bacon, in the bacon, fat, all tastes like bacon, and then you put all tastes like bacon, the mince.
Why are you putting mince?
Because then you've got the girth. That's what you're not getting. That's what you're not getting, Sam. This is what I mean. You've got the girth. That's what you're not getting. That's what you're not getting, Sam. This is what I mean.
Greetings, my Imperial Queechlings. How are we all doing today? I am the Slam King, and tonight it's time for some tales from the 41st Millennium. How is everybody doing this evening? Let me know in the chat. Let's see who we have got. We have got the Moderator Supreme, Chaka. We've got Jeski's fella. We've got Red. We've got Snow. We've got Trooper. We've got Eric Jenkins, Martin, Eggy, and Cam. If I've missed anybody, Davey Ectomy, how you doing, mate? Nurse, how are you doing? Let me know if I've missed anybody. You know I like to be polite. I like to greet everybody, do you know what I mean? Oh, so... Oh, shit. Got the hat over there. That didn't need to be here today. How is everybody? Martin, how are you doing, mate? Yeah, so I don't know whether you saw my message in the Discord. So I was having a cig out the back garden just before I started the stream. And I was just sat in the backyard. And everything's quiet. And I thought, oh, the coast is clear. So I just let out, like, the biggest fart. Like a massive fart. And then realised that both of my neighbours, the two ladies who lived next to me, were sat in the garden, not even 3 feet away from me. And it was an earth shaker as well. It was brutal. As I said in the Discord, I was crouched down. So I had full purchase on this fart. And I gravely underestimated the acoustics of a concrete backyard. So that was nice. Oh. Bloody hell. Ear-shattering. It was. It really was ear-shattering. David's stuck at his dead-end job. Eggy, there's the Moonwalk King.
Greetings, dear Queechlings. I am Imperial Servo Skull Unit, Nigel. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Oh, nice of you to join us, Nigel. It was lovely, that. Bloody hell. Nigel, everybody. Imperial Servo Skull Unit, Nigel. Oh, you off, Nige? Alright, I'll see you later then, mate. There's Big Nige. Black Moon, Senor Chef, Gore Crusher, how you all doing? Snow, I'm sure they stood up and clapped next, right? No, they both just did a cough to, like, let me know that they were there, I think. I'm assuming that's what it was, because I don't know why 2 people would cough at the same time. So I think it was more of a signal just to let me know that I wasn't alone. And I should probably stop ripping these massive farts. Senor Chef, no, I did not shit. Sadly. I don't think I've had a shit today, actually. Nurse, Nigel owes me 20 quid. Yeah, he'll do you like that, though, Nigel. He will do you like that. Neither a lender nor a borrower be. That's what my grandma always used to say. Gore Crusher's knackered, is he? Why are you knackered for? What have you been doing? Nurse, give him bus fare and Macca's and he's not floated back since. Yeah, I've told you. That's what he does. That's what he does. That's how he gets you. That's how he gets you. He's a bastard like that, is Nigel. So you have to be careful with him. I don't lend him shit. I don't lend him a goddamn thing. Not a damn thing. Eggy, Nigel bought me a Greggs the other day. Yeah, probably with the money that Nurse lent him. That's how he does it. Do you know what I mean? He'll borrow from one friend and then spend that on another friend to get in their good graces. He's a master manipulator, is Nigel. You wouldn't think it to look at him, but that's how he is. Gore Crusher, been a long day, especially with the 2 kittens. Stevie absolutely batters Winnie. Yeah, they'll do that. They'll do that. Pantera and 11 used to fucking leather each other as well. I think the thing is, though, you think it looks worse. Like, you think it's worse than it is because of how it looks. When really they're just being kittens. Because I used to genuinely think that Pantera and 11 were fucking levering each other, and they weren't. They were just being kittens. Cess! Cess, how you doing, Cecil? Davey Ectomy, Nigel paid off my truck. Snow. He must have done it with the money I lent him, the bastard. See, this is what I've said. This is what I've told you. I've told you about him. This is what he's like. But none of you believe me. You all just think that Nigel's cool and everything. Do you know what I mean? You're like bumming off Nigel. Giving Nigel a big old bum, yeah? And you don't realise what he's really like. You don't understand it. Do you know what I mean? He's a bad man. He's a bad man. Nosser, how are you doing? How are you getting on, Nosser? We're all telling stories about how much of a bastard Nigel is.
That is very funny, Slam King.
Yeah, hilarious. Hilarious, Nigel. Hilarious, mate. What we saying? Like many Nigels. Cecil, I had a nightmare about work last night. It's been so stressful. Fucking hell. I used to have that shit. When I worked for this restaurant chain. I used to have nightmares about that shit. Fucking horrible. It was so bad. Right. Shall we jump straight into this fucking book? Because I'm already an hour behind today, aren't I? So I should probably get on with it. I should probably get deep into this book. Do you know what I'm saying? Nosset's literally at his machine at work. So I'm serenading you while you work. Snow, the worst thing ever is having a dream about work, then waking up and having to go there. Yeah. When I worked for this restaurant chain that I used to work for, not Nando's. Everybody knows I worked there, but it weren't that one. It was a different one. I used to have actual like anxiety attacks because it was that stressful. Like I'd wake up in the morning and feel like I was having a fucking heart attack. It was horrible. It was horrendous. I've never had anxiety attacks about anything else in my entire life. Ever. Before or since. It was only when I had that job. Because it was that bad. It was that shit of a company to work for. Eggy, did you end up doing any vocals today? Yes, I did. Thank you very much. Yes, I did. And all should be revealed in due time. Do you know what I mean? Good things come to those who wait. Guinness used to say that. It was wise words. Do you know what I mean? Owen thought you'd have been too busy moonwalking. No, that was simply in the morning. That was a morning moonwalk. I can't be moonwalking all day. Do you know what I mean? I'm a busy man. Got things to do. Places to go, people to see. I can't just be moonwalking backwards and forth across the laminate flooring in the living room. You know what I mean? What do you think this is? It was a practice. It was a morning practice. I banged a bit of Luther on. Bit of Luther Vandross. Full blast. Had myself a cup of coffee and just started moonwalking around the cat. That was Wednesday, that. That was my Wednesday. My Wednesday morning. Because I can't... Well, the thing is... took the kids to school. I get back. And it's like... 20 to 9 in the morning. And I can't do vocals at 20 to 9 in the morning because I live in a terraced house and I've got neighbours. So I have to, like, do you know what I mean? I'm a respectful neighbour. So, like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to be doing that, like, first thing in the fucking morning. Because I don't know what my neighbours do for work. I don't know when they work or, like, whether they're on night shifts or any of that shit or whether they're having a lie-in or whatever. So I like to wait until about at least 11 o'clock before I start doing fucking screaming and shouting. Do you know what I mean? So I thought I'd spend the morning moonwalking, perfecting my art. I'm glad you all appreciate the finer points of a moonwalk, though. Jack, that moonwalk was like seeing me procrastinating, cleaning, and other boring stuff. Hey, I was simply practicing. It was practice. Do you know what I mean? I'd had a coffee in me. Well, I was 2 coffees deep by this point, so... Do you know what I mean? Snow, my neighbour is my sister, so I don't have to care. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's fair. But mine are not related to me, so I have to be mindful. You know what I'm like. I'm a polite person, aren't I? I've got a strict code of respect and morals. Do you know what I mean? The next dance video isn't the griddy I'm on subbing. You've already seen that.
To start the book.
Oh, all right then. Fucking hell, Nigel. Jesus Christ. You need to calm yourself down. Nosset, moonwalking when is the footage? It's on my Instagram. I posted it this morning. That was my Wednesday morning. Right, Nigel's telling me I need to start this book. He's an impatient servo skull, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? I'm an absolute master of the moonwalk, though. I'm just putting that out there. Taught MJ everything he knows about moonwalking, not about touching kids or anything like that. That was all him, that. That was all him, that, mate. That was nothing to do with me, that. Draw the line there. It's just me. Snow, it's literally just me moonwalking around my living room while I'm listening to Luther Vandross. And my cat Pantera's just clearly giving me side eye. That's basically that's the gist of it. That's the gist of it. Yo! Jeski's fella! With the 8-month resub! Bosh! Nice one, Jeski's fella. Huge love. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, dude. Appreciate you. 8 months, baby. Nice. That puts us 4 away. 4 away from the next patch giveaway. Eggy, very glad you clarified. Just telling you. Just telling you. That's, do you know what I mean? You got to draw the line somewhere, Eggy. That's all I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? Thriller was a bop, though. Just poured Coca-Cola all over my chin. It's alright, though. My chin's that big, though. It'll take it fucking ages to get down to the bottom of it, so I caught it before the drip fell. I don't know why I'm using this glass. I hate this glass. I'm not a fan. Oh. Pepsi in my stubble. Trials and tribulations of an Imperial Remembrancer. Right. Nigel was saying we need to get into this book. So I better get cracking, ain't I? Because otherwise we'll be here all night. And I'm knackered. Because I'm always knackered, aren't I? Can't even remember what time I went to sleep last night. But I know what time I fucking got up. I was up at like fucking 7, I think. I think that's what time the missus was waking me up. Right. Let's get into it. Flight of the Eisenstein. Where were we up to? Chapter 7. So what happened? So last week, Garro found out that he was not deemed not deemed fit to go down to Istvan 3, which is where we know the betrayal takes place, which is where Loken, Torgadon, Vipus, and Saul Tarvitz all died. So he's been told, no, you're not going there because you got injured, because he got his leg ripped off, didn't he? But the real reason is Mortarion wants Garro to join the traitors, basically, and turn against the Emperor. So Garro has been given his orders that he's to board a frigate ship called the Eisenstein, and that Grulgor will go with him. And Typhon, the first captain, basically told Grulgor, like, this is what's really going down. It's happening now. Mortarion wants Garro to join us, but I know that he will never betray the Emperor. So when the time comes, you need to take care of it. And that's where we're up to. So Garro's been given his orders and told to go and board the Eisenstein. And Grulgor has also been given orders to take care of Garro when the time comes. So, with that being said, let's jump into chapter 7. Gavin, how you doing, man? Gav, it's amazing that Captain Gareth first name is more or less Nathan. It is Nathaniel, isn't it? Nath, Nath Garro. Hey, Megan99, how you doing? Big love. Can't stay but wanted to pop in and say hi. Well, hello. Hello there, Megan. All right, then. Let us jump straight back in to Flight of the Eisenstein, Chapter 7. Hard Landing. Life Eater. Decision. It was the honor of the Death Guard that they be the first Astartes to set foot on the surface of Istvan 3, in the mission to restore the world to compliance. Ulis Tamita's heart swelled with martial pride to know that he and the men of his company would form the very point of the spear tip. The captain's drop pod hammered into the compacted mudflats adjoining the Coral City's trench lines with a solid thunder of torn earth. The concussion of the landing echoed over and over as hundreds more pods rained from the sky in burning red-orange streaks, half burying themselves in the dirt. The invasion force numbered in the thousands, with warriors of every rank and stripe coming in hard, cold fury to the surface. In the minds of each Astartes, there was anger and censure for the rebels. And the Death Guard were but a part of the multiple brigades of warriors and war machines turned to that purpose. The flanks of Tamita's pod flew open, propelled by explosive bolts, and he took his first breath of Istvanian air to call out to his men. Fatena and Mortarion! The captain led his command squad out of the shallow crater their landing had created and opened fire, laying down a chattering fan of tracer against a group of turncoat soldiers who had ventured close to observe. Vardus Pral had prepared his defences well, gutting the forest that had previously stood in this place and making the flat landscape into a sparse killing ground of trenches, tunnels, and low bunkers. Beyond it, a few kilometers distant, were the outskirts of the Coral City itself. The cool blue-white sunlight of the day made it glitter and shine. Demeter saw more streaks of fire descending on the city proper, towards the striking shapes of the Precentor's palace and the Siren Hold, the drop-pod assault elements of the World Eaters, Emperor's children, and the sons of Horus. He smiled. The Death Guard would meet them soon enough, but first he had a punishment to mete out. The traitor Praal's men had fashioned these earthworks in defiance of the Emperor's call to obedience, and it was Captain Demeter's duty to show them the error of their ways. It would have been a simple matter for the Astartes invasion force to bypass the trench lines and land behind them, but to do that would have sent the wrong message. It would have implied that the fortifications were somehow a challenge to Imperial might, when clearly they were nothing more than a minor impediment. So, Demeter and the Death Guard would walk into the fire corridors of the Istvanian lines. They would rend and destroy them, and march on to the Coral City to show these deluded fools the truth. Nothing could stand in the way of the Emperor's will. The Astartes moved across the dull mud in a thick line of marble grey and green armor, a heavy wave of ceramite and flex steel fording snarls of razor wire and barriers made of rough-cut tree trunks. They strode through kill points and shrugged off hails of stubber bullets. Some of Demeter's troops paused here and there as they found concealed pop-up hatches and closed them permanently with melter bombs. The captain glanced back and saw the venerable dreadnought Huron Farl moving to his right flank, the spread-clawed feet of the hulking warrior churning up the mud. Sprays of fire from the twin-mounted cannons on Huron's right arm lanced out and blew huge divots of clotted earth from the enemy lines, sending traitor soldiers scattering. The defenders of the Coral City wore drab fatigues that matched the color of the dull mud, but such pitiful attempts at camouflage were rendered useless by the image intensification lenses and infrared prey sight functions of an Astartes helm. He gave the command in battle sign for the line to split into skirmish parties and watched as the warriors broke into packs. Demeter knew most of the men in this detachment by name or reputation, although there were some Death Guard here today that he had never fought with. The War Master's deployment plan for the assault, while sound, was not one that Demeter himself would have constructed. Rather than follow the traditional lines of unit by company division, Horus had combed the legions for individual squad-level elements and assembled a force that drew men from dozens of different companies. It was the captain's understanding that this had happened not only with the Death Guard, but also in the World Eaters, the Emperor's children, and Horus's own legion. He had to admit, the strategic thinking behind such a selective deployment was beyond him. But if the War Master had ordered it to be so, then he had no doubt there was a reason for it. Privately, the captain of the 4th was pleased to have a battlefield to himself for a change, able to fight without taking a backseat to Grulgor's grandstanding or Typhon's brutal tactics. The foe was regrouping, recovering from the shock of the initial landing to the point where their fire was no longer random. Over the flat blares of ballistic shot, Demeter's keen hearing captured scratchy, atonal sounds that sounded like singing. He had read the after-action chronicles from Istvan Extremis and knew of these so-called war singers and their strange choral witchery. It seems that here on the 3rd planet, the arcane power of their peculiar music also held sway. Demeter raised his combi bolter and began a symphony of his own. The Eisenstein was an unremarkable vessel, an older pattern of ship in the frigate tonnage grade, just over 2 kilometers in length from bow to stern. It bore some resemblance to the newer sword-class craft, but only inasmuch as most Imperial ships shared a similar design philosophy. Almost every line vessel in service to the Lord of Terror was constructed of congruent elements: the dagger prow, the massive block of sublight and warp drives, forged between them amid ships of crenellations and complex sheaves of steel. "Doesn't look like much," Voyen remarked quietly, peering through the Stormbird's viewport as they crossed from the Endurance. He was still wary around Garro, and it showed in his voice.
"It's just a ship," replied the battle captain. "There and elsewhere. We do our duty no differently."
In the frigate's landing bay, which seemed cramped and narrow in comparison to the Endurance, the ship's master was waiting to greet the Death Guard with a formal bridge party. "Barak Kaya," he said, with a clipped accent and brisk salute. "Commander Grulgar, Battle-Captain Garro, as the Primarch has ordered, this ship is yours until death or new duty." Kaya was thick-set and tawny, with a matting of stubbly grey hair around his head and chin. Garro noticed the shine of a carbon-plated augmetic at his cheek, and saw the stud-plug cords dangling in a queue from the back of his skull. He was terse in manner, but just on the right side of obedient. As ship's master, Kaya would be de facto captain when a ranking Astartes was not on board. And he didn't doubt the man had some resentment about stepping out of that role for this assignment. The shipmaster glanced at the lean, thin-faced woman at his side. Garro recognized the status pins on her epaulets as those of executive rank. "My deck officer, Rochelle Vort." She bowed and made the sign of the Aquila. Grulgar took this opportunity to sniff in slight disdain.
"You may carry on, shipmaster. When Captain Garro or I require your attention, you will be made aware of it."
Kaya and Vort saluted and left. Garro watched them go, aware that Grulgar was already attempting to place himself in a position of superiority less than a minute after they had stepped onto the Eisenstein's decks. He looked back towards the aura field holding out the vacuum of space as the last of the Stormbirds drifted into the landing bay on darts of blue thrust, angling to land next to the transports assigned to the elements from the 2nd and 7th companies. A momentary crease of uncertainty crossed Garro's face. He counted the Stormbirds. Surely the new arrival was one too many for their needs. It wasn't as if the entirety of their commands had come with their 2 unit leaders. The ship settled and folded its raptor wings to its fuselage. The captain watched it from the corner of his eye, waiting for the embarkation hatch to drop open to release more of Grulgar's men, but it remained static. There were no passengers aboard then. Perhaps the ship only carried inanimate cargo. Grulgar crossed his line of sight and showed Garro a thin, humorless smile.
"I intend to make an inspection of this vessel to ensure it's fully prepared for the battle." "Very well."
The commander signaled to the handful of his men and strode away without looking back. Garro sighed and turned to Caleb, where the housecarl stood, bowed.
"Supervise the Eisenstein servitors to unload our war gear and equipment."
He paused.
"And report to me any information about that payload from that last Stormbird."
"Aye, Lord. I'll have the crew install the gear on the frigate's arming racks."
Garro looked at Sergeant Hacker.
"Anders, take the men and find us a good billet before Grulgar's men take the choice spaces."
Off the veteran's salute, the battle captain turned to his command squad.
"I'm going to the bridge. Decius, Sendek, you'll join me."
Voyen gave him a look.
while Grulgar stalks the lower decks. Forgive me, Lord, but I find something about his manner unsettling. Who doesn't? Offered Sendek.
He's your superior, apothecary,
Garro said,
more bluntly than he'd intended.
He has the authority to do as he wishes, within reason.
Nathaniel waved Voyan away.
Go with Akur. I'm in no mood for idle speculation at this moment.
With his warriors following him, Garro walked to the elevator platform that would take them up to the frigate's central tiers. He kept his face neutral, but Voyan had struck a sore point. It would be divisive and unseemly for the battle captain to have spoken openly in front of line Astartes, but the truth was that Garro too suspected an ulterior motive on Grulgar's part.
If we come to this,
his thoughts echoed in his mind.
When men of the same legion cannot look upon one another without a bloom of distrust, there is rivalry between warriors, and then there is enmity. And this, what am I sensing?
Captain!
Demeter looked up into the face of one of his junior officers.
Sir, our approach on the northern flank is being forced into a bottleneck. The defenders have a twin quad-barrel cannon sweeping the area. It's then placed in a ferrocrete bunker. Shall I give the command to go around?
Demeter snorted.
We are Death Guard, lad. When we encounter a boulder in our path, we do not slink and flow around it like water. We strike and shatter it.
He rose and beckoned his command squad with him.
Show me this impediment.
They moved low over the undulating ground, leaping over shallow trenchworks clogged with Istvanian dead and shell casings. The crack and screech of shots whizzed around them, and still Demeter heard the doleful droning dirges of the enemy. Crossing a shallow incline, the captain deliberately stepped out of line and stomped on a fallen speaker horn where it had fallen from a support pole. The device sparked and fell silent.
There, Lord,
said the officer. It was a flat hexagon set deep in the grey mud, the clean shade of ferrocrete not more than a few years old. Pits were being dug in the fascia of it from bolt rounds as Death Guard sharpshooters sniped from cover. As the young Astartes had said, the wicked barrels of the quad guns were spitting an endless stream of tracer out over the approaches. A handful of broken bodies in the killing zone showed where battle brothers had advanced and died in the attempt. Demeter frowned.
Shot and shell won't do the deed. Bring up the men with the flamers and the plasma weapons.
The order was relayed, and a troop of Death Guard carrying inferno guns came forward. Demeter tossed his combi bolter to the young officer and beckoned another man closer.
Your torch. Give it to me.
The captain took the warrior's flamer and shook it, hearing the satisfying slosh of a near-full tank of liquid promethium.
Bolters, draw their attention. Flamers, give 'em the heat.
The Astartes opened fire, and as Demeter expected, the heavy quad guns inched around to track on them. His men understood the plan without the need for him to lay it out in detail. The moment the quads were depressed, the Death Guard with flamer and plasma weapons crested their cover and sent jets of superheated gas and burning fluid washing over the sides of the bunker and into the interior. The defenders couldn't range the guns back fast enough, and within moments, Demeter had led his men to the very wall of the low blockhouse. For good measure, he had a sergeant toss a fist of crack grenades through the aiming slot, and then projected himself up and over the bunker roof. Demeter ran and dropped down into the S-shaped entry tunnel, smashing a hooded trooper in the ferrocrete with an ugly crack of bone. When he heard the confusion inside the dugout and waded into it. Within, black smoke and licks of guttering fire clung to the walls, and the heat radiating from the thrumming quad guns was thick. The captain triggered the borrowed flamer and hosed it across the space before him, a hissing red whip of flame carving through the air at chest height.
Men became torches, and boxes of unspent ammunition in compartments below cooked off in blaring detonations. One of the Istvanian soldiers ran at him, shrieking and aflame, and pulled Tamita into an embrace. The captain let the flamer drop from his grip and ripped the man in two, tearing him apart. He beat out the flames and grimaced as the rest of his troop waded in and finished the task. The bunker silenced. Tamita glanced into the tunnel mouths that branched downward from it. "Seal all of these," he ordered. "We don't want rats popping up behind us after our line advances past this point." Without the roar of the cannons, once again the captain became aware of the reedy caterwauling issuing from the vox speaker. He punched it into pieces with his fist. "Destroy those repeaters wherever you see them," Tamita continued. "That oath-forsaken noise is damaging my calm." "Sir!" called one of the men, pointing out through the gun slit. Tamita saw a huge shadow dropping towards the horizon on pillars of retro rocket fire, and then felt the earth tremble like a struck bell. Every Astartes in the bunker left the floor for a split second, and he heard the ferrocrete roof crack with the shockwave. The captain peered out and saw a massive cylinder standing upright in a shroud of steam, some distance beyond the zone where the drop pods had put down. It was easily the size of a Hive City habitat block, guidance fins still glowing cherry red with the heat of re-entry. There came a mighty moan of stressed metals, and the sides of the cylinder fell away, trailing flexible pipes and streams of white vapor. From inside the monstrous drop capsule came the hooting call of a battle horn, and then planes of steel and iron emerged from the smoke to become a colossus bristling with armor and guns. The ground resonated with each thunderous footfall as the Imperator-class Titan strode out towards the Coral City. "Dies Irae," said Tamita, naming the massive war machine. "Our cousins from the Legio Mortis have decided to join our outing." He allowed himself to marvel at the huge battle construct, then shook it off. "Signals," he called. "Contact the Irae's princeps and update him on the battle situation." The young Astartes officer handed Tamita back his combi bolter and frowned.
"Lord, there's a concern with the Vox."
"Explain," he demanded.
"We're having difficulty making contact on some channels, including the feed to the Titan and our ships in orbit."
Tamita glanced up. "Are the locals jamming us?" The Astartes shook his head.
"I don't believe so, Captain. The dropout's too selective for that. It's as if certain Vox frequencies have just been switched off."
He accepted this with a brisk nod. "Aye, we'll work around it then. If the problem gets worse, then inform me. Otherwise, we proceed with the attack plan as determined." Tamita bounded out of the cloying air on the dead bunker and strode forwards. "On to the Coral City," he called. A vast shadow hove above him, and the captain looked up to see the underside of the Dies Irae's foot as it passed over him, descending to fall upon another bunker some distance ahead. The heavy impacts of artillery were starting to converge, coming down in twists of smoke. "Death Guard!" he called, shouldering his bolter. "We'll let the giant take the brunt of the big guns. Into the trenches, brothers! Sweep the ground clean of these rebellious scum!" Kaya looked up as the brass leaves of the bridge iris whispered open to admit Garro and his two warriors. The man shot a quick, nervous look across at the woman, and then put up the mask of sullen authority that he had worn in the landing bay.
"Battle-Captain on the bridge,"
he intoned, and saluted. Garro accepted the honor with a nod. "Ceremony was appeased down below, Master Kaya. Let's not overburden ourselves with it here. and stick to the necessities instead, yeah?
As you wish, Captain. Are you going to take the con?
He shook his head.
Not without good reason.
Garro took in the layout of the ship's command chamber. It was unornamented, as was fitting to the lean and spare intentions of a vessel in the service of the Death Guard. Unlike some starships, where decorative panels of wood or metal covered the walls, the Eisenstein's conduits and workings were bare to the eye. Twisted snarls of cables and piping ranged around the bridge space, clustering around cogitator consoles and viewports. They reminded Garro of the gnarled roots of ancient trees. Vought seemed to catch on to Garro's train of thought.
The vessel may not be pretty, but it has a strong heart, Captain. It's been an unswerving servant of the Emperor since the day it left the lunar shipyards, before I was born.
He noticed how she was careful not to look directly at his injured leg. Even under his power armor, the stiffness in his gait made the aftermath of his recent injury obvious. Garro put a hand on the central navitrix podium, studying the etheric compass enclosed in a sphere of glass and suspensor fields. A discreet gunmetal plaque fixed to the podium's base showed the ship's name, class, and details of the frigate's launching. Nathaniel read it to himself and felt amusement tug at his lips.
Fascinating. Seems the Eisenstein took to space in the same year I became an Astartes.
He glanced at Vought.
I have kinship with her already.
The deck officer returned his smile, and for the first time Garro felt a moment of genuine connection with a member of the crew.
Eisenstein,
ventured Sendek, rolling the words over his lips.
It's a word from old Terran dialect of the German eye. It means ironstone.
It is fitting. Kaya nodded.
A warrior is correct, Captain Garro. It also shares its name with two noted men from the Age of Terror. One a Remembrancer, the other a scientist. Such history for a mere frigate,
Decius opined. The shipmaster's eyes flashed for an instant.
With respect, Lord, in the War Master's military, there is no such thing as a mere frigate.
Forgive my battle brother,
said Garro mildly.
He's grown too comfortable in the spacious bunks aboard the Endurance.
A fine ship, Kaya replied. We'll do well to match the battle record of so illustrious a vessel.
Garro smiled slightly.
We're not here to win accolades, shipmaster. Just to do our duty.
He approached the front of the bridge, where rows of consoles and operator pulpits glowed with the actinic blue of pict screens.
What's our status?
At station keeping, said Vought. The War Master's order were to hold these coordinates until all Astartes were aboard, then to await further commands. The battle captain nodded.
I'm afraid we may not be making much history today. Our Primarch has ordered that we maintain orbit here at high anchor and watch for enemy ships that may attempt to escape his Farm 3 under cover of the ground assault.
Garro had barely finished speaking when a bell chime sounded from a shadowed nook off to the starboard side of the bridge. A heavy sound curtain was bunched up to one side of the dim recess, held open by a thick silver cord. It was a vox hide, an alcove where important communications could be received in relative privacy during combat operations. A gangly young officer wearing a complex signaling collar and holding a data slate in his hand stepped out into the light and snapped to attention. Machine call message, Prioris cipher, expedite immediate. He waved, looking between Garro and Kaya, unsure of who to address. Sir? The shipmaster offered an open hand. Let me have it, Mr. Mars. He glanced at Garro. Captain, if you will permit me. Nathaniel nodded and watched Kaya page quickly through the data. Ah, he said after a moment.
It seems Lord Mortarion has decided to make a different use of us. Vought, bring maneuvering thrusters to standby. Garro took the slate as the deck officer carried out her directions.
Is there a problem?
No, sir. New orders. The shipmaster bent over the helm servitor and began giving out a string of clipped commands. The data slate was curt and to the point, directly from the Vox dispatch nexus aboard the Vengeful Spirit, marked with the signet runes of the Death Lord and Horus's equerry, Malagurst. The fresh directives were for Eisenstein to depart from the current navigation point and drop into a lower orbital path. Like all Astartes of senior rank, Garro had training and experience in starship operations, and he fell back into the learning drilled into his mind by hypno-conditioning as he read, figuring the status of the frigate once the new coordinates were reached.
Hey, Shannon, how you doing? You all right, mate? Ooh, por favor. Bit of the old Wednesday German, that's what I call that. Don't call me Mr. International for nothing, do they? He frowned. Typhon had told him that the Eisenstein was to act as an interceptor for Istvanian absconders. But once settled at this new posting, the ship would be too close to the edge of the third planet's atmosphere to react quickly enough. To function correctly in their assigned role, the frigate had to stay high, giving the gunnery crews time to spot, target, and destroy enemy ships. The drop in altitude only narrowed their field of fire. Then he studied the corresponding planetary coordinates, and his concern deepened. Ooh. Por favor, mon frere.
The orbital shift would put the Eisenstein directly over the Coral City, and Garro was certain that no void-capable craft had been left intact down there. He handed the slate back to Mars, his frown deepening. Had they been carrying drop pods and Astartes for a second assault wave, then the reasoning behind the orders would have been clear, but the frigate was not configured for those sorts of operations. It was, in the most basic sense, only a gun carriage, decked with weapons batteries that emerged from her flanks in spiky profusion. Eisenstein's only function when ranged so close to a world was one of stand-off planetary bombardment, but such an action seemed unthinkable. After all, Horus had already eschewed Angron's demands to blast the Coral City into ashes at the War Council. The War Master would surely not change his mind so quickly, and even if he had, there were hundreds of loyal men down there. Garro became aware that Karya was looking at him. Captain? If you have nothing to add, I'm going to execute the orders.
Garro nodded distantly, feeling an ill-defined chill wash through him.
Proceed, Master Karya.
The Death Guard stepped closer to the main viewport and stared out through the armor glass. Beneath him, the cloud-swirled sphere of Istvan III began to drift nearer.
Something wrong, Lord?
Decius spoke in a subvocal whisper below the hearing of the crewman.
Yes,
said the battle captain, and the sudden honesty of the admission surprised him.
But by terror, I don't know what it is.
Caleb shrank deep inside the folds of the ship robes and moved with care along the edges of the service gantry. Over the years, he had become quite adept at being unseen in plain sight, and to an outside observer, the housecarl would have resembled nothing but a common serf.
His badge of fealty to the Death Guard and the 7th Company was swaddled beneath the grey material. There was a part of his thoughts that cycled an endless loop of anxious warnings against what he was doing, but Caleb found himself moving forward despite it, going onward. How had he changed so? What was he doing? What he was doing had to be some sort of a criminal act, masquerading as an Eisenstein crewman instead of openly walking with his real identity visible, and yet he felt filled with the rightness of his actions. Ever since the Emperor had answered Caleb's prayers in the infirmary and saved his master Garro, the housecarl had become emboldened. His orders were coming from a higher power. Perhaps they always had, but only now he was sure of it. The battle captain had told him to follow the Stormbird's cargo, and he was about it. If it was Garro's wish, then this was the Emperor's work, and Caleb would be right in doing it. After the men of the 7th had left the landing bay, Caleb placed himself where he could give directions to the frigate's servitors, but also observe that last Stormbird. It had only been a few minutes before one of Grulgor's men had returned to the bay, the boorish one, Mokir, and drawn off a work gang of serfs to unload the shuttle's cargo. Caleb watched the heavy steel cubes roll out of the vessel, and then watched the serfs bind them to chain carriages and shift them towards the aft. The containers were identical, blocks of dull metal scarred and pitted from use, detailed with the Imperial Aquila, and stenciled warning runes in brilliant yellow paint. They could hold anything. From this distance, Caleb could not read the lading scrolls fixed to the flanks. He watched with interest as one of the Heelot teams fumbled and a crate slipped on its moorings, falling a meter before the men caught the slack and stopped it slamming into the deck. Mokir stormed over to the foreman and backhanded him to the floor. Over the constant noise of the bay, Caleb could not fathom the words he spoke, but the tone of the Death Guard's ill temper was obvious. In a steady train, the crates shifted up and away. Caleb watched them, hesitating. He had orders to supervise the equipment transfer, yes, but Garro had also demanded information on the nature of the Stormbird's cargo. Caleb convinced himself that the latter was the more important command. So, keeping his distance, the housecarl threaded his way through the Eisenstein, keeping the convoy of containers in sight, careful to stay out of Mokir's eyeline. The crates were halted in the service gantries that ran down the spine of the frigate. On either side of the open steel tunnel were loading gears and hopper mechanisms for the ship's primary weapon batteries. Large open gun breeches lined the walkway, ready to accept war shots from the ammunition magazines that towered above them. The crates were being shifted to the staging areas near the portside guns. Caleb's face showed confusion, and he let his gaze follow the length of one huge cannon out beyond the hull through the armored slits of the sighting port. He saw the dim reflection of a planetary surface out there, drifting in the dark. The work gangs had some of the crates open, and he shifted forward to get a better look, slipping over the lip of seal plates where the wide emergency barrier partitions would drop into place in the event of a munitions discharge or misfire. Caleb's dismay grew stronger when he recognized the tall, broad shapes of Death Guards standing watch over the serfs while they worked. Bareheaded and intent, Commander Grulgor was at their forefront, shouting out orders and giving directions with sharp jerks of his hand. The crate closest to him gave out an oiled hiss and unfolded like a gift box. Inside there were hexagonal frames, and racked upon them were a dozen glass spheres. Each one was at least a meter in diameter, and all of them were filled with a thick chemical slurry of vomitous green fluids. A black symbol made up of interlocking broken rings decorated each capsule, and some basic animal reaction made Caleb's hands clench around the railing he hid behind. A quick mental calculation told him that if all the crates were identical, then there were over 100 of the spheres in Grulgor's cargo. Things added up. Mokir's abrupt anger, the commander's presence at the unloading, the exaggerated delicacy with which the crewmen moved the capsules. Whatever the liquid was inside them, the glass pods represented something utterly lethal. The thought crystallized in Caleb's mind with such an impact that it pushed him back up to his feet. Suddenly, all the bravery he had felt at his clever little disguise evaporated, and stabs of fear shot through him. The housecar spun about to run and slammed into an ambling servitor with a tray of tools. The piston-legged machine slave tipped over and collapsed, sending his gear flying. The tool parts sent up a cacophony of sound, drawing the attention of Grulgor's Astartes. Caleb saw Mokir start towards his hiding place, and the housecar fled into the deeper shadows. Fear enveloped him, as readily as the thick material of the ship robes. It was only as his eyes adjusted to the dark that the housecar realized he had backed into a wide alcove with no other exits. The dead end stopped with a sheer wall of hull metal and hanging catwalks overhead that he couldn't hope to reach. He would be found. He would be found, and they would know who he was and who had sent him. Nerves in the servant's legs twitched. Grulgor would end his life. He was certain of it. He remembered the look in the commander's eyes back aboard the Endurance. The loathing. But that death would be nothing compared to the crushing failure it represented. Caleb Arryn would die, and he would perish, having failed both his master and the master of mankind. Mokir gave the servitor a sideways look and kept coming, straight towards Caleb, one hand resting on the hilt of his combat blade. The housecarl prayed silently.
Emperor, Lord of Man, protect me and hold me safe against the enemies of your divine will.
In the next second, he was yanked from his feet and felt strong hands pull him off the deck. Up and away. Caleb thrashed, coming to face a serious aspect there in the dimness.
VIII?
He whispered. The apothecary put a finger to his lips and held Caleb tightly. The housecarl looked down from the catwalk and watched Mokir run a cursory glance over the alcove below them, then snort and stride back to Grulgor. After a moment, VIII relaxed his grip and let Caleb settle onto the scaffold.
Lord,
whispered the servant.
What are you doing here?
VIII's voice was a low rumble.
Like you, my suspicions were piqued. Unlike you, my skills in stealth are of a decent standard. Thank you for saving me, sir. If Mokir had found me there,
it would not have gone well. It was clear the apothecary was deeply troubled. Caleb looked back at the loaders and the glass spheres.
Those orbs, what are they?
The work gangs were busy detaching the warhead cowlings from thruster-guided glide bombs, exchanging the explosive charges inside for the globes of liquid. VIII tried to speak, and it was as if the words caught in his throat, too distasteful for him to even bring to bear.
Those are life-eater capsules, he managed. It's an engineered viral strain of such complete lethality that it can only be deployed in the most extreme circumstances, usually against the most foul Xenos.
He looked away and Caleb felt a chill at the warrior's mien. Even Astartes could be fearful of these things.
It is a bane weapon of the highest order, a world killer. Only the largest capital ships are permitted to carry it in their armories. They brought it from the Endurance?
Caleb blinked.
Why, Lord? Why are they loading it to fire on the planet?
Voyan gave him a hard look. Caleb, listen to me. Go to the captain and tell him what we've seen. As fast as you can, little man. Go. Go now. And so Caleb ran.
What's this?
Decius heard the warning tone in Karya's voice and looked up from the hololithic display and across the frigate's bridge. The shipmaster was speaking to Mars, the Vox tender.
There aren't any scheduled movements in this battle sector. Did the deployment pattern get altered without my knowledge? Negative, said Mars. No recorded changes, sir. Nevertheless, this signal from the Lord of Horus is clear. A craft from the Andronius is on our scopes, and it does not register a mission flight plan. The Andronius is idle on ship, said Sendek. Has he suddenly become eager to join our battle brothers down on the surface? Perhaps scent of all that glory were too much to resist, added Decius.
Captain Garro walked back from the far end of the chamber, grimacing a little as he limped. You sure? He asked, addressing his demand to the communications officer. Mars nodded and brandished a data slate.
Very sure, Captain. An Emperor's Children Thunderhawks passing through our engagement zone.
Fine way to get yourself shot down, murmured Sendek, drawing a wry nod from Decius. The Astartes toggled the hololith to show the data from Mars's report, and his eyes widened. Not only was there a Thunderhawk arrowing through Eisenstein's patch of space, but behind it was a cluster of Raven interceptors, and they were in an attack delta. Garro was speaking to the woman, Vought. Smells like trouble. Put us on an intercept course. Decius looked to his commanders at the deck as the deck officer relayed Garro's orders.
Lord, is this some sort of test? First we're taking off our duty station, and now our own ships are launching without authorization.
I have no answer for you.
Captain, Sendek called out urgently. The fighters trailing the Thunderhawk. They've just opened fire on it.
The shock was clear in his voice.
A warning shot, suggested Karya.
Vought shook her head.
Nope. Cogitators are detecting energy blooms on the vessel's hull. The dropship's taking hits.
The familiar bell chime sounded once more, and Mars emerged from the alcove again.
Battle-Captain Garro, I have a message sent in the clear on the General Vox channel.
Quickly, Garro ordered.
From Lord Commander Eidolon. Starship Andronius. Message. Fugitive Thunderhawk is acting against the War Master's commands and is to be considered a renegade. All fleet elements are ordered to destroy this ship on sight.
Shoot down one of our own vessels? Sendek was clearly aghast at the mere thought of such an idea. Has he taken leave of his senses?
The Thunderhawk is turning, reported the deck officer. He's seen our approach. Confirm the Thunderhawk is closing in on us.
She looked up at Garro.
He's well within lad's cannon range, Lord.
Karya's face was stony, and a hard silence fell across the bridge.
What are your orders, Captain Garro?
Decius's commander threw him a look, and then turned to Mars. Can you get me a ship-to-ship link with that Thunderhawk?
Aye, sir.
Then do it now.
But, Lord, the orders, began Decius. Garro shot the warrior a sharp glare.
Eidolon can give all the orders he wants. I will not fire on a fellow Astartes without first knowing why.
The battle captain strode to the mouth of the Vox-hide and snatched a hand communicator from Mars.
Thunderhawk on a closing course with the Eisenstein, he barked. Identify yourself.
Through the crackle of interference came an anxious reply.
Nathaniel?
Decius saw the colour drain from Garro's face in recognition.
It's Saul. It's good to hear your voice, my brother.
Saul Tarvitz,
Whispered Sendek.
captain of the Emperor's children. Impossible, he's a man of honour. If he's turned traitor, then the galaxy's gone insane.
Decius found he couldn't look away from Garro's shocked expression. Perhaps it has. It was a long moment before Decius realised the words had been his. That's the end of chapter 7.
You alright, Leeds J? How you doing?
End of chapter 7. Right, so it's happening. If you remember, we've seen all of this before, but we've seen it from Saul Tarvitz's side. And now, if you remember, we remember this bit from the last book. This is where Saul Tarvitz speaks to Garro and tells him what's happening. So now we're seeing it from Garro's side. We're just about to have the conversation between Snow. We're just about to have the conversation between Saul Tarvitz and Garro over the Vox, where Tarvitz basically tells him what's happening. So this is the point. So at this minute, Saul Tarvitz has already figured out what's happening. He's already figured it all out. He's found out. He's jumped into a Thunderhawk because he wants to warn people. But he's being chased. And if you remember, he flies towards the Eisenstein, which is when he speaks to fucking Garro. Good old Nafe. Our Nafe. Our Nafe, mate. Nafe Garro. Big Nafe. Love Garro. You've got to love Garro, though. Who thought that Caleb was having it then? Who thought Caleb was getting fucked up then? So, also, let's go back to Caleb. So, Garro's told Caleb, go and find out what's in those fucking... what cargo that Thunderhawk's carrying. Because it's definitely not carrying men. And we've got one extra Thunderhawk that isn't accounted for. So I need to know what's in it. We know what that is. But now, we've actually got a description of what those virus bombs, the Life Eater virus, we know that that's what it is. But now we've got a description of what it actually looks like. So it's in glass spheres, and it described it as a green chemical sludge. So that's the Life Eater virus. That's the virus bombs that they dropped. The one that just melts anything, any organic tissue. The worst, they're like the worst weapons in the Imperium. They're the most deadly weapons in the whole of the Imperium. Snow, I don't think keeping a virus like that in glass is very smart. What if someone drops it? Well, someone did drop it, but they caught it. Someone literally did drop it. And, fucking Moke backhanded him to the fucking floor, nearly backhanded his head off. Do you know why I think that... Do you know where I think they've got the inspiration for what the Life Eater virus bombs look like? Have you ever seen the movie The Rock? With Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage? There's a virus bomb in that. That looks exactly like that. Exactly like that. Little glass spheres filled with green liquid. So they definitely took the inspiration from that. 100% they have. That description, when I was reading that description, I was like, they've defo got that from The Rock. That's exactly what the virus bomb in The Rock looks like. Jesky's fella, losers quit, winners go home and fuck the prom queen. I love that film. Do you know what I mean though? Then Jesky's fella, do you remember the virus bomb when he's pulling it out of the casing at the end? And it's loads of glass. It's loads of glass spheres. It's loads of glass spheres with green liquid inside. Because that's pretty much what they've just described there in that book as a virus bomb. So they've definitely took the fucking inspiration from that movie. 100%. Cecil, I was 100% certain he was getting his limbs ripped from his body and stuffed up his arse one by one. Jack and me, I was already tearing up. Yeah, I thought Caleb was having it then. Because I haven't read this book. This is the first time I've read this book. I know what happens, because I know what the story is. I know the events in this. But I haven't read this book, so I don't know the details. So I actually thought Caleb might have it here. And then the apothecary saved him. The apothecary that... Cecil, was it you that said that you weren't sure about that apothecary? You think he's a bit dodgy? The apothecary saved him and told him to go and warn Garro. So even though he is a lodge member, he was... I thought he was being sincere last week. He seems like a real one. He just fucking saved Caleb and then told him to go and warn Garro. Yeah, you thought he was slimy as fuck. Yeah, it's because he was because he's a lodge member. It's because he's a lodge member. But if you remember, do you remember who else was a lodge member? Torgadon. Torgadon was a lodge member. So just because they're in the lodge doesn't automatically mean that they're traitor. Because the lodge before, obviously this, what's happening, before Erebus came about, it was supposed to be just a fraternity, like a brotherhood, where Space Marines can just hang out and rank isn't a thing. Do you know what I mean? They can just hang out and just chat like equals, basically. Chaka, I'm impressed how you can jump through different accents of the characters. Makes the story even better. It's getting more difficult now because there's been so many characters. So it's like it's a lot harder for me now. Like sometimes I have to like stop and think about who's speaking. Like I fucked one up there before because the woman was speaking and I gave her one of the dudes voices. Just give someone a random surfer dude accent. Who would have a random surfer dude accent? Yo, man, that's totally rad, dude. That's tubular, man. Right. Right, should we move on? Ooh, we're in the second part of the book now. We're in part 2.
A sundered vow.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, the subtitle for this chapter doesn't bode well. One of the Emperor's children, for sure. Grulgar should have that. Second cap on that. No, I've got Grulgar as like a fucking snouty fucking like northwest accent, haven't I?
Grulgar talks like this.
Because he's a cunt. Right, let me wet me whistle. Right, okay. Here we go. Let me move this around. Chapter 8. Point of no return. Sacrifice.
Oath of moment.
Tollin Sendek prided himself on his orderly mind and his controlled, regimented will. It was a point of honor for him to be logical and intent in his service to the 14th Legion and to the Emperor. He eschewed irrationality and the incautious nature that some of his brethren embraced. Ral had often made fun of him about it, joking that Sendek took the word stoic to new extremes. But he thought of his dead comrade now, and wondered what Peer would have made of the look on his face, the purely emotional surprise that gripped him. It had taken only a moment to bring him to this state. The rogue Thunderhawk, the signal from Eidolon, the incredible command to terminate the fleeing vessel and the ranking Astartes officer aboard it. Sendek shook his head, trying to fight off the confusion. Had Decius been correct? Was it a test? Some bizarre sort of battle drill to assess the mettle of the Eisenstein's command crew? Or could it be true that Saul Tarvitz had indeed turned renegade and was fit only for execution? If it was possible for an Imperial governor like Vardus Pral to go against the Emperor, then perhaps an Astartes might do the same. Captain Garro gripped a Vox microphone in his hand and was speaking urgently into it, his knuckles white around the device.
Saul, what in the name of the Emperor's going on? Were those fighters trying to shoot you down?
Sendek flashed a look at the Eisenstein's hololith. The answer to Garro's question was self-evident, as the frigate's sensors showed flickers of beam fire dashing from the flight of ravens, snapping at the Thunderhawk's stern. As he watched, the raptor-like interceptors adopted an attack posture. They were lining up to make a final strike. He heard Garro shout into the Vox, demanding some explanation. Any explanation.
Be quick, Saul! They almost have you!
Tarvitz's next words made Sendek's guts knot.
This is treachery!
Bellowed the captain of the Emperor's children, desperation filling his voice.
All of this! We are betrayed! The fleet's going to bombard the planet's surface with virus bombs!
At once, everyone on the bridge in earshot of the Vox speaker was shocked rigid.
What? No!
said Vought, shaking her head. Officers at other deck stations looked up from the command pit in disbelief.
That cannot be,
began the shipmaster, taking a wary step forward. Decius's face was tense.
He's mistaken. Our brothers are down there.
Their voices overlapped one another in loud profusion, and Sendek heard only snatches of Garro's conversation with Tarvitz.
On my life! I swear I do not lie to you!
Cried the captain. Sendek's commander sagged, as if the weight of the man's claim was pressing down on him. He caught Tarvitz's final, frustrated words.
Every Astartes on Ispan 3 is going to die!
He looked back at the hololith. Tarvitz's life was measured only in ticks of the clock. The Thunderhawk was wallowing badly, bleeding fuel as the Ravens moved in for the kill. Captain Garro shoved himself away from the Vox alcove and stormed across the bridge.
Weapons!
He shouted.
I want lascannon command, this very second!
Vaught's fingers danced over her console.
Close quarters batteries are active, sir, she reported. Cogitators are computing a firing solution.
The woman blinked.
Sir? Are you going to shoot him down?
Give me manual control. Garro waved her away from the panel. If anyone is to pull this trigger, it'll be me. The battle captain gripped the side of the pulpit and then stabbed at an activation rune. Firing, reported one of the toneless servitors. On the Eisenstein's dorsal hull, a cluster of high-energy laser cannons swiveled and shifted in unison, tracking to face the Thunderhawk and the Ravens. The guns discharged silently through the void, for a single instant filling the dark with a storm of flickering energy. Spears of collimated, coherent light reached out and found their target, tearing through armored hull metal, ceramite, and plastic. Fusion cores detonated in a flashing cascade, a thick cloud of radioactive debris riding out in a perfect sphere behind a wall of electromagnetic radiation. Sendek's eyes narrowed as light flared in through the bridge's viewing slits, and the hololith bloomed with a sudden globe of crackling, impenetrable static. The Astartes looked to Garro as his captain stepped down from Vaught's console and limped back to Mars's station at the Voxide.
He killed him.
Tolan's voice was barely audible.
Blood's oath. He killed Tarvitz.
Decius eyed him, conflict visible on his face.
Those were the orders.
Those were Eidolon's orders, Sendek snapped, his usual calm disintegrating. You see that eagle carved upon the captain's vambrace? Tarvitz has one just like it. Akir told me of it. Garro and Tarvitz are honor brothers. He wouldn't just murder him in cold blood.
Well, if Tarvitz has turned,
the battle captain gave the communications officer Mars a hard shove and pushed him out of the Voxide. Garro bent to allow his armored form into the alcove and yanked the sound curtain across the entrance with a savage swipe of his hand, cutting himself off from the bridge. Sendek heard Vaught's question to Kaya.
What is he doing in there?
reporting back to Eidolon,
suggested the shipmaster. The Astartes leaned down, almost with his face in the edges of the hololith cube. Flickering storms of energy and color made it impossible to read. The power of the explosion out there reflecting off the planet's upper atmosphere would fog the ship's sensors for several minutes.
Solon, began Decius. Whatever bond the battle captain had with Tarvis, I cannot rise above the duty of service. Eidolon's a Lord Commander, he outranks Garro. No, Sendek shook his head, working the controls of the hololith's projector podium, spooling back the time index record. I refuse to accept he would do such a thing. You know him as well as I do, Solon. Straight Arrow Garro, the men call him. He's an archetype for the nobility of the Legiones Astartes. Could you ever imagine our commander agreeing to slay a battle brother on the whim of one of the Emperor's children? Then what happened out there? Demanded Decius. You saw the Thunderhawk explode. I saw an explosion, countered Sendek. He toyed with the controls and then let the hololith run the brief engagement again in slow motion. Indicators showed the Eisenstein turn and fire, the bolts sweep towards the other craft, and then the stormy aftermath. The Astartes nodded slowly. He didn't target the Thunderhawk at all. The shots must have struck the lead Raven. The other interceptions were in close formation. The detonation would have caught them all in that shockwave. Then where's Tarvis? Sendek pointed at the deck. He was close to Isvan 3's atmosphere. I'll warrant he's using sensor disruption to slip away. Decius glanced around to be sure that the rest of the frigate crew were not aware of what they were discussing. So Tarvis escapes, and 5 pilots are killed in his stead. They were only crew serfs, not Astartes. I doubt Eidolon would weep over their loss. Sendek looked across to the Vox side. He's not talking to the Andronius in there, he said with grim certainty. If you were correct, then we've just witnessed our commanding officer disobey a direct order from his superior. That's dereliction of duty, grounds for severe chastisement at the very least. Decius frowned. You know, I have no love for Fulgrim's fops, but if the War Master learns of this, it will taint all of us, the entire Death Guard. Sendek grimaced. How can you be so quick to set your colours? Our captain would never act without conscience. If he has done this thing, then there is no doubt in my mind that he has a credible motive. Will you not at least learn what that is before you begin lamenting for your reputation? Decius' eyes flashed. Very well, brother. I shall ask him now. Before Sendek could stop him, Decius rounded the hololith and strode quickly to the Vox side and grabbed the sound-deadening drape. As he wrenched it back, both Astartes heard the battle captain speaking into the Vox. Look at Sarah be with you, he said. Only static answered him. Garro looked up from his crouch by the communications pulpit and met their gazes. The hollow, broken look upon his face cut Decius to the very core. Even when he had seen the captain in his healing trance after falling on Istvan Extremis, he had not seemed so empty and ill as he did at this moment. Lord? He asked. What is it? The storm is coming, Solon, the battle captain said in a dead voice. It took great effort for Garro to propel himself out of the Vox side, as Tarvis's revelations churned in his mind, sapping the will and strength from his muscles like some strange malaise. The things he had said, the import of them was staggering. He took heavy steps away, ignoring the loaded stares of the Eisenstein's crew and the visible distrust radiating from Mars as the comms officer made for his alcove once again. Garro threw a command at Mars over his shoulder. Contact Andronius. Tell him that the Rogue was destroyed, and the explosion claimed their pursuit ships as well. No survivors. And is that what really happened? Asked Decius, accusingly.
Tarvitz brought us a warning. You heard what he said on the Vox.
Lord, all I heard was some wild shouting about betrayal and virus bombs. On that alone, you've gone against orders.
Sendek and his brethren moved to the rear of the compartment, instinctively keeping their voices pitched low.
If Tarvitz spoke of it, then it was no falsehood,
insisted Garro softly. Decius sneered.
With respect, Captain, I did not know the man, and I do not hold that hearsay is enough to let a direct command be ignored.
Garro's temper came back in a hot rush, and he grabbed Decius by the gorget and pulled him off balance.
I do know Saul Tarvitz, you whelp, and his word is worth 1,000 of Eidolons.
He thrust his vambrace up before Decius's face.
You'll see this, the etching there. That mark is all the guarantee I need. When you have fought for as long as I have, you will learn that some things transcend even the commands of your masters.
Furious, he released the other warrior and his fists tightened. Sendek's face was pale with shock.
If what he said was true, if there are ships in the fleet preparing to drop blight warheads on the planet, it will mean the wholesale slaughter of thousands of our kinsmen.
He shook his head.
Oh, for sake. There is no need to sacrifice men to wipe out the Coral City. Why would Horus allow such a thing to happen? It makes no sense.
Exactly, said Decius, recovering his composure.
What possible reason could the War Master have for doing this?
Garro opened his mouth to speak, to actually say the words aloud to his battle brothers for the very first time, and found that he could not. The sheer horror of it, the ripping, echoing void inside his thoughts stopped him dead. Betrayal. He couldn't make the word, couldn't force it from his throat. That Horus himself, great Horus, the beautiful and magnificent War Master, had done this. The idea of it made him go weak. And with that realization there came another. If Horus had prepared this treachery, then he had not done it alone. It was too big, too monumental an endeavour even for the War Master to have managed it by himself. Yes, Horus's brothers would be a part of it too. Angron, ever ready to take any path that would lead him to more bloodshed. Fulgrim, convinced of his own superiority and perfection over all. And the Death Lord himself, in secret conspiracy with the War Master.
Mortarion.
Garro saw those hard amber eyes once again, remembered the questions and the intent of his Primarch. It is important for my brother Horus to have unity across the entirety of the Astartes. He had said those words. We must have singular purpose, or we will falter. Was this duplicity the purpose Mortarion had alluded to? Garro turned away, pressing the heel of his palm to his forehead, fighting down the conflict inside him. He saw a frantic, shuddering figure come rushing in through the iris hatch of the bridge, face tight with fear.
Caleb.
The housecarl bowed shakily.
My lord, you must come quickly. Brother Voyen and I, in the ship's gunnery racks, were discovered.
He struggled, sucking in gasping breaths of air.
Grulgor and his men are loading the main guns, loading them with life-eater globes.
Virus bombs, said Sendek in a cold, distant voice.
Aye, lord, I saw it with my own eyes.
Garro pressed down the turmoil within and drew himself up.
Show me.
Voyan looked on, aghast. With each new sphere that emerged on the back of the loader cruise, he felt his horror plunge deeper. As a trained apothecary, it was his duty to be knowledgeable in the patterns and pathologies of many types of biological warfare agents, and the Life Eater was known to him. He wished it was not. He flashed on a moment of memory. A day during his advanced training with the Magos biologists, when the mentors had given live demonstrations on condemned criminals of the effects of various toxins upon unprotected flesh. He had seen the damage a single droplet of the voracious virus could do, watching it eat into a screaming heretic from behind impenetrable armor glass. Out there, in those globes, there were gallons of the thick green transmitter medium, every cupful swarming with countless trillions of the killer microbes. He estimated that the warshots aboard the Eisenstein alone would be enough to wipe out a large city. Commander Grulgor walked carefully among the loaders and his own men, showing no fear, directing the arming process personally. He was taking responsibility for it, Voyan realized, doing it himself to put his own stamp of perverse pride on the deed. He turned as soft footfalls across the maintenance gantry caught his attention. Oh shit. Garro, his face like thunder, arrived with Sendek in tow and Caleb panting at the rear. Oh shit. Oh shit. The battle captain spoke without preamble.
Is it true?
It is, Voyan pointed. Look there. The sigil on the spheres is unmistakable. It is the Rotbane Lord, a weapon even the Emperor is loath to use. He shook his head. Why has Grulgor done this? What madness has possessed him?
Garro's eyes were hard and flinty.
It is not madness, brother. It is treason.
No, insisted Voyan, desperately trying to rationalize the situation as he had been since he sent Caleb running.
Perhaps if I spoke to Grulgor, I could discern the truth. I could approach him as a lodge brother. He would listen.
The captain shook his head.
He will not. Mark me. This will end only one way.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Sorry. Oh, God, I have no idea what's going to happen right now. Sorry, I didn't mean to break character or anything. Fuck. Fucking hell. Right, 1 minute, sorry. Oh, shit.
This will end only one way.
Garro stood up, coming out of the shadows of the gantry, and walked slowly and deliberately down the ramp to the main level of the loading bay. He ducked beneath the hanging lip of the blast hatch and called out,
Ignatius Grulgor! Come here and explain yourself!
The captain's voice boomed off the tall, wide corridor above the gun carriages. Voyan and the others followed warily, and the apothecary saw Grulgor's expression stiffen at the new arrivals.
Garro, he sneered. It will be best for you to take your men, turn about and leave. What occurs here is not of your concern.
All around him,
The work gangers and the Astartes from the second company became still. Garro's hand was on the hilt of Libertas. That will not happen. Grulgor nodded, a smile of amusement on his lips. It was clear he had expected no less. Answer me, commanded Garro. In the Emperor's name, you will answer me! The commander's face twisted in a grimace. The Emperor, he said in a mocking tone. And where is he now? What coin does his name carry in this moment? Blasphemer, spat Caleb beneath his breath. Why should we answer to him? Grulgor snarled. He abandoned us. When we needed him the most, he cut away, left us behind out here and fled back to your precious terror. And what has he done since that day, eh? The commander spread his hands, taking in his men. He has sold off our birthright to a council of fools and politicians, taken civilians who have never known hardships or the kiss of war, and made them lords and lordmakers in our stead. The Emperor, he has no authority over us. Voyan blinked back his surprise at such raw, seditious pronouncement, and gasped when he heard a chorus of angry assent among the men of the second. Only the War Master and the Death Lord can command us, Grulgor continued. What we do here, we do by the will of Horus and Mortarion. Garro advanced menacingly, and with his thumb he flicked the hilt of Libertas so that a length of the blade emerged from its scabbard. You and your men will stand down and quit this insanity. Grulgor chuckled. You are 3 Astartes and an housecarl. I have my entire command squad and an handful of naval crew. The odds do not favour you. Well, I have right on my side, Garro said. And this will be the last time I ask you. The commander studied the battle captain. Very well, then. Go ahead. He tipped back his head and showed his bare throat. Kill me, if you will. When Garro wavered, Grulgor's rough laugh cut through the tense air. You can't. I can see it in your eyes. The thought that you might have to take the life of another Astartes, it horrifies you. He looked away. You're as crippled in spirit as you are in the flesh. That's why you fail to see, Garro. Beneath that rigid exterior, you are weak. You're too afraid to do what must be done. Garro's mailed fingers were clasped around the sword's hilt, but it seemed cemented in the scabbard, unwilling to be drawn. Curse Grulgor. But Garro knew that on some level the braggart was right. For a brief instant, the words of the Jorgal Psyker were there in his mind again, pressing at his will. Death Guard, so confident of your rightness, so afraid to see the crack in your spirit. He gasped, and Grulgor saw the hesitation. Suddenly the commander was tearing the stubby frame of a bolt pistol from his belt and shouting. Garro saw it coming up and Libertas leapt into his hand, the metal flashing. Time skipped, and there was gunfire in the chamber, shouts and the crashing of metal on metal. Check your fire! Grulgor bellowed, drawing a battle knife with his free hand. Garro was aware of Voyan and Sendek slipping away into battle stances, and he saw Caleb duck out of the line of fire. He thought of Decius, up on the bridge where he had left him. The youth's close combat skills would have been a useful asset had he been here. Grulgor had not lied. The odds were indeed stacked against them. but the clutter of machinery and equipment across the gunnery decks and the presence of the volatile warhead globes made it awkward for his men to move in and engage. On a level battlefield, the fight would have already been over. Not here. Garro surged forward and advanced at the commander, but 2 of his men blocked his path, each armed with heavy combat hammers. He moved swiftly, parrying a blow from the left with the sword and striking out to the right with a punch that staggered the second opponent. Garro spun in place and used Libertas to cleave the haft of one hammer and send the owner falling backwards with a sword gouge down the torso of his armor. Following through, Garro struck the second man again, this time with a heavy pommel of the blade. The Astartes dropped, his face a red ruin of smashed bones. This was not the first time Nathaniel had shed the blood of his battle brothers in combat. On many occasions he had fought to a standstill against live opponents in the practice cages, but those incidents were always under controlled circumstances, and never with fatal intent. Inwardly he cursed Grulgor for forcing him into this situation. Off to the edges of his sight, he saw Voyen and Sendek had their own battles to fight. Garro sensed another aggressor coming to his rear and shifted just as a fractal-edged steel knife blade scraped at his shoulder. Reacting without conscious thought, the battle-captain reversed his grip on Libertas and thrust it backwards under his armpit. The sword ran through his attacker as he turned to draw it back out. Garro's heart tightened in his chest as he watched his kill fall away to the deck plates with a crash. A Death Guard was dead, and it was by his hand. The scrum of crewmen swarmed over Caleb, kicking and punching him to the floor. Not one of them had the courage or stupidity to take on an Astartes, and so en masse they had sought the next best target. The housecarl railed at them for taking Grulgor's side over Garrod's, but he wasted his breath. The swabs saw only which captain had the greater numbers and gave their loyalty to him. Caleb fought as well as he could, but it was wild and mad, clothes and skin tearing, hair ripping away. He felt sharp-nailed fingers rend his tunic and snatch at his neck. His collar pulled tight against him and he felt a surge of anger. Caleb headbutted his attacker and swore, finding new rage to fuel him. "Emperor curse you, filthy Orsons!" A blocky metal shape rose up before him and clubbed his temple. Caleb shook off the blow and grabbed at it. He smelt the odor of gun oil. It was a stub pistol. The housecarl shoved against the men trying to hold him back and snatched at the small weapon. It went off with a spitting crack of sound and someone screamed. Caleb rolled free of the mob and came up still gripping the hot metal ingot. His fingers easily found the trigger and grip and he blasted the next man to come at him through the eye. The gun was his salvation, a gift from his divinity. "The God Emperor protects," he snarled. "I am his servant and his subject." He staggered away, breathing hard. Caleb blinked and saw a figure before him in the marble white and green trim of a Death Guard captain. The Astartes was aiming a bolt pistol into the melee with great care. Instinctively, the housecarl looked to see who the target was. Garro was oblivious to the imminent kill shot, grimly fighting hand-to-hand with another warrior. "No, he cannot die!" The thought burned like fire across the serf's mind. "I will not permit it! The God Emperor has chosen him!" Caleb raised the tiny gun and spoke a prayer aloud. "Divine One, guide my hand." He fired. The shot was released an instant before Grulgor's finger tightened on his trigger. The stub bullet from the handgun was of such small gauge that all it did was nick the metal of the bolt pistol where it struck the frame, but even that was enough to deflect the commander's aim. The bolt shell from Grulgor's pistol went wide, keening off a girder near Garro's head and arcing away in a ricochet. Grulgor reacted with preternatural speed and turned, throwing his battle knife at the housecarl. The Astartes' blade buried itself in Caleb's chest, the impact throwing him down to collide with one of the gunnery bay's control lecterns. It all happened in an instant, barely a second from the report of the stub gun. Blood filled Caleb's mouth. his throat and his lungs as a new sound crossed the room. A brittle, fierce noise. Eggs breaking. Ice cracking. Glass shattering. Through his fogged vision, Caleb saw a thin line of dark haze issuing from one of the warhead spheres, hissing with virulent potency.
The globe!
Shouted Voyan, kicking away from the thick of the fight. Grulgor's deflected bolt round struck a glancing hit, webbing the frangible glass ball with a spreading fan of fractures.
Get away!
He yanked at Sendik's arm, pulling him backwards. Black gas was forming into a slow, malevolent haze, buzzing like a swarm of gnats. Workgangers close to the mist were already vomiting and clawing at their exposed skin. In moments, it would fill the width of the gunnery chamber.
Tom Taster, how you doing, mate? Was that the first gunshot of the Heresy? Possibly. Possibly. It's quite possible. If we're thinking about timelines, this is happening just before the initial bombing of Istvan 3. So this might actually be the first proper combat of the Heresy. Unless if there's anyone watching who knows for certain. But yeah, going off timelines, the bombing hasn't happened yet. This is in the minutes before the bombing. So this might actually be the first proper, like, Astartes on Astartes combat of the Heresy. Oh yeah, Istvan 5 isn't until later. So yeah, this could very well, this fight right now could very well be the very first Astartes on Astartes combat of the Heresy. Fucking Caleb, man. What a fucking legend. As if Caleb fought all those guys off on his sween. Fucking headbutting people and shit. What a fucking legend. And saved Garro. Because Grulgor was going to kill him, because Garro's not wearing a helmet. And he was lining up a bolt pistol shot. If he'd have hit him in the head with that, he'd have killed him. What a fucking legend. Fucking Grulgor, though. Piece of shit.
Black gas was forming into a slow, malevolent haze, buzzing like a swarm of gnats. Workgangers close to the mist were already vomiting and clawing at their exposed skin. In moments, it would fill the width of the gunnery chamber. Garro's line of sight swept the room, and he found Caleb staring fixedly at him, pink froth leaking from his lips.
Lord!
He cried, blood bubbling in his throat.
You are of purpose. The God Emperor wills it.
The housecar lurched up onto the control lectern, wheezing.
Yes, his hand lies upon all of us. The Emperor protects.
Garro reached out a hand in a warding gesture as Caleb threw himself forward, using the last of his strength to press down on an emergency release switch. Sirens blared, and in the steel ceiling overhead, huge cogwheels disengaged, letting walls of thick iron drop down towards seal wells in the deck. Garro flung himself under the falling blade of metal, landing hard and rolling out to where Voyen and Sendek were crouched in the next compartment. One of Grulgor's men, the warrior named Mokir, threw himself after Garro, clutching at his heels. Mokir landed short, with only his upper body across the well. The iron wall slammed shut across him, the massive guillotine severing the body of the Astartes with a sickening crunch of bone and ceramite. Garro's heart hammered against the inside of his ribcage, matching the pounding of fists from the inside of the thick gate. A phantom ache hummed through his augmetic leg. "Blast shields!" gasped Sendek. He swallowed hard. Voyen nodded. "He saved our lives. The hatch is proof against the Bane. The little man gave himself up to save us, and the ship." The banging on the metal doors grew softer and softer, until finally it ceased altogether. Garro got to his feet and crossed to the shield, placing his palm against it. It felt blood-warm, probably from the virulent chemical reactions of the rot taking place inside. He tried to block out thoughts of the carnage contained in there, the bodies bursting with liquefied organs and organic decay. He tried, and he failed. Caleb's words echoed in his mind. It was clear now that the voice that had spoken to him of the Emperor and divinity through the fog of his healing coma must have been Caleb's. And now, the loyal servant had given his life in trade for his master's.
"I am of purpose," Garro mumbled. "What purpose?"
"Sir?" Sendek came to him, calling out to be heard over the hooting roar of the klaxons. "What did you say?" He turned away from the shield.
"Purge that compartment. Tell Kaya to vent the air in there to space. The life eater reaction will spread to every one of the container spheres and release the entire warlord. But it can't exist without an atmosphere. I want it off this ship."
Voyen nodded. "And the bodies in there, Captain? They will be decaying and—"
"Leave them,"
he snapped, fighting off the dark mood settling upon him.
"We must move swiftly, unless we wish to join them in death."
Garro frowned and slammed Libertath back into his sheath.
"The die has been cast."
Like the Endurance, the Eisenstein had her own observatorium on the dorsal hull, situated just forward of the frigate's command tower. It was nowhere near as large, however, and with the broad and tall figures of several Astartes crammed into it, the open chamber seemed smaller still. Decius's face sat in a grimace as the hatch opened and another 2 Death Guard entered. The apothecary Voyen stepped into the chamber with Sendek at his side, and the expression upon both their faces was enough to give him pause. Decius looked across to where Sergeant Hakur was standing with his men from his squad, and he saw that old Andus shared the black disposition of the new arrivals.
"Medic, what is going on?"
demanded the veteran.
"I'm suddenly ordered to drop everything and come up here, tell no one, and I hear distant sirens and snatches of scuttlebutt from the swabs about gunfire and explosions."
"There were no explosions," said Sendek grimly. Where's the captain? Asked Decius. He'll be here in a moment, Voyen replied. He's gone to fetch some others. Decius wasn't content with another evasive answer. When I was on the bridge, there was a fire alert from the gunnery decks. An entire compartment amidships was sealed off. That's 4 weapons carriages disabled, according to the control servitor. And then I hear you on the Vox shouting for an emergency decompression down there. He pointed at the apothecary. First the lodges, and now Tarvitz, now this. I want an explanation. The captain will give it to you. Saul Tarvitz? Hacker broke in. What about him? The last I heard, he was on the Andronius. By now he'll be in the Coral City if he didn't burn up on the way down, Sendek said grimly. He broke protocol, stole a Thunderhawk and made for the surface of Isvan III. Lord Commander Eidolon ordered that he was to be shot down. Hacker's disbelief was palpable. That's ludicrous. You must be mistaken. Decius shook his head. We were all there. We heard the order, but Garro disobeyed it. He let Tarvitz escape. The younger Astartes was still smarting over what had taken place, his loyalties pulling him in different directions over his commander's actions. It is sedition. Yeah, it is. Garro's voice issued from the hatch as he entered, with Shipmaster Kaya and the deck officer Vought following behind. The woman closed the seal behind them at Garro's nod, and it was only then that Decius noticed the housecar wasn't with them. The battle captain moved into the center of the room and took a folded cloth packet on the observatorium's control dais. He took in all of them with a heavy, calculating stare. Decius had the impression that Garro was reticent to move on, to say the words that were pressing at his lips. Eventually, he sighed and nodded to himself as if he had made a choice. When we leave this room, we will be rebels, he began. The guns of our brothers will be turned against us. I will call upon you to do questionable things, but there is no other path now. There is no other choice. We alone may be the only souls capable of carrying the warning. What warning is this, Lord? One of Hacker's men asked, scowling deeply. Garro looked at Decius. A warning of sedition. Kaya cleared his throat. Unlike his second in command, the shipmaster did not seem ill at ease being outnumbered by so many Death Guard in so close a proximity. Honored battle captain, with all due respect, this is my ship, and I will have you explain what has gone on aboard her before we go any further. Indeed. As is right, nodded Garro. He looked down at his mailed hands and took a deep breath. In a solemn, metered voice, Decius's mentor relayed the events of his confrontation with Grulgor. Shock took hold as he spoke of the virus bombs, turning into a grim, loaded silence as Garro went on to convey the commander's declaration against the Emperor and the horrifying result of the melee on the gunnery decks. Decius felt his head swim with the import of these things. It was as if the floor was turning to mud beneath his boots, dragging him down into disarray and confusion. Vought was pale as paper. The Life Eater? Will it not spread? Sendek shook his head.
was contained in time. The viral strain burns out very quickly.
I would recommend the compartment not be open for the next 6 hours, added Voyen, just to be certain. The warlord will have dissipated harmlessly into space after the atmosphere vents were open, but dormant clades might linger in the bodies of the dead.
Our own men.
Hakor shook his head.
I can barely believe it. I knew Grulgor was a braggart and a glory seeker, but this... Why would he do something so outrageous?
The veteran looked to Garro, an almost naive imploring in his eyes.
My lord?
Garro wanted to explain Grulgor's actions away. Like Voyen, some secret part of him had hoped that perhaps this was all some strange dream, or a temporary madness that had taken hold of his rival. But the moment he had looked Ignatius in the eye, he had known it was not so. Grulgor would never ally himself to a cause if he thought it might have a risk of failure. The certainty, the complete assurance on the other Death Guard's face, that sealed the truth of it for Garro. Grulgor was the proof of Tarvitz's warning, the damning reality snapping hard into place like a magazine into the breech of a bolter. All the small things, the little asides and the moments of doubt, the dark feeling of ominous import, the mood aboard endurance and the vengeful spirit. Every element that had troubled Nathaniel these past days turned in place and became a part of the same whole.
Saul Tarvitz, my honor brother and friend, brought me a forewarning. In risk to his own life, he fled the ships of the Emperor's children to the planet below in order to tell our kingsmen down there that a viral attack is imminent. For this, Eidolon attempted to have him killed before he could succeed.
Garro nodded again.
I chose not to follow that command. And as a result, Saul is on Isfahan 3 as we speak, doubtless rallying men of the Legiones Astartes to find cover before the attack begins. My faith in what he told me is ironclad, as strong to me as my bond is to you.
He extended a hand and tapped Hakor on the shoulder, then began to walk around the room. Garro met the gaze of each person there as he did so, impressing his own truth upon them.
Here is the horrific truth. Grulgor and Eidolon are not two errant souls pursuing some personal agenda, but soldiers in a war of betrayal that is about to unfold. What they have done is not of their own volition, but under the orders of the War Master himself.
He ignored the scattering of gasps that the statement brought forth.
Horus, with the support of Angron, Fulgrim, and though it sickens me to say it, our Master Mortarion has done this.
Across the chamber, Kaya almost collapsed into an observation chair. He was struggling to make sense of Garro's words. Vort stood beside him, her face as twisted as if she were ready to be physically ill.
Why?
Asked the shipmaster.
Terror take me if I can see the logic and truth in all this, but why would he do it? What would Horus have to gain by turning against the Emperor?
Everything, muttered Decius. Voyen's head bobbed in a rueful nod. There has been talk of the War Master at second and third hand in the lodges. Talk of how far away the Emperor is and of discontent over the commands of the Council of Terror. The tone of things has been strained ever since Horus was injured at Davin, and after he returned from his healing.
The very tip of treason's blade, glimpsed in hidden places,
said Sendek. Garro pressed on.
Horus personally chose all the units for the assault on the Coral City. He picked only the men he knew would not turn if he called them to his banner. The bombing will rid him of the only obstacle to open insurrection.
And if this is so, demanded Decius, then why are we not down there as well? Your staunch loyalty to the Emperor and Terror is hardly a secret, sir.
Garro gave a cold smile and tapped on the thigh plate of his armor.
If the War Singer or his Van extremists had not forced this piece of pig iron on me, I have no doubt we would be alongside Demeter and his troops, unaware that a sword is poised at our necks. But a turn of events has played in our favour, and we must seize our opportunity.
Tarvitz's escape will not remain undiscovered forever,
said Vought. Oh shit, that's not right. Tarvitz's escape will not remain undiscovered forever, said Vought. When the War Master learns of what you did, Eisenstein will be under the guns of the entire fleet.
Well, I have no doubt of that,
Garro agreed.
We have a few hours at most.
What do you propose?
asked Sendek.
His frigate's only one ship. We cannot hope to assist the ground forces by intercepting the bombardments or attempting to engage the War Master.
Garro shook his head.
If Saul succeeds, we'll have no need to stop the bombing. And if not...
He swallowed hard.
There's nothing we can do to help those men.
Decius saw it first. You plan to flee,
What's your tone?
snapped Hacker. Decius ignored the veteran.
You want us to run?
We have no choice. If we remain, we will perish. But if we can get this ship out of the system, there's a chance we can still stem the tide of this treachery. We must finish the mission that saw Tarvitz began. We must carry the warning of this perfidy to Terror and the Emperor.
He looked at the dark-skinned man.
Master Kaya, can the Eisenstein make space for the Sol system? Or at the very least, a star close to the Imperial core?
He shook his head slowly.
On any other day, I would say it could. But today, I cannot be certain.
The warp has become increasingly clouded in recent weeks, full of storms and turbulence, Vought broke in. Interstellar travel has become very difficult. If we attempt to translate now, our navigators would be virtually sightless.
But you could still make the jump.
Hacker noted.
We could still get away. Even if we went into the warp blind.
Kaya snorted.
The ship would be cast to the etheric currents. We could find ourselves light years off the charts. Anywhere.
Anywhere but here,
said Garro with finality.
I want preparations made. Barrick. Ressel.
He fixed them with a hard eye, using their given names for the first time.
Will you resist me on this?
The two naval officers exchanged glances, and he saw that they were with him.
No,
said the shipmaster.
many of my men are faithful Terrans, and they will not falter. But there are some who will balk. I imagine I have men who follow Horus among my crew.
There's also the matter of Grulgor's other Astartes on board, added Sendek. They'll be asking questions very soon.
Garro looked to Hakur.
Hakur, take what you need and secure the ship. Apply whatever force is required. Understood.
There was a moment of silence as the reality of Garro's command became clear. And then the veteran saluted.
Aye, Lord.
Garro bent over the control dais and unwrapped the cloth bundle he had brought with him. In it were a dozen thin slips of paper dense with writing in a quick, forceful hand. The battle captain handed one to everybody in the observatorium, including Kaya and Vort. The woman frowned at the piece of parchment. "What is this?"
"An oath of moment," said Decius. "We will swear our duty upon it."
Garro opened his mouth to speak, but the clang of the hatch stilled his tongue. The communications officer blundered headlong into the observatorium and skidded to a halt, mouth agape at the clandestine meeting he had interrupted.
"Mars!" bellowed Kaya. "For terror's sake, man! Knock before you enter."
"Your pardon, sir," puffed the Vox operator. "But this priority signal came in for Commander Grulgor's eyes only. He doesn't answer." Kaya snatched a data slate from him and paled as he scanned it. He read aloud. It's from Typhon on the Terminus Est. Message reads, "Weapons free, bombardment to commence imminently. Permission granted to terminate any and all impediments to operation." Then all eyes turned to Garro. The subtext of the message was clear. Typhon was handing Grulgor the authority to kill Garro and his men. He held up the paper.
"The oath, then,"
he rumbled, pausing to take a breath.
"Do you accept your role in this? Will you dedicate yourself to the safe carriage of the warning to terror, no matter what forces are ranged against us? Do you pledge to do honor to the 14th Legion and the Emperor?"
The captain drew Libertas and held the sword point down. Hakur was the first to place his hand upon the blade.
"By this matter and this weapon I so swear."
One by one, the Astartes followed suit, with Decius the last. Then Kaya and Vort gave the vow as well, as Mars looked on wide-eyed. As they filed from the chamber, Decius caught his commander's arm.
"Fine words," he said. "But who was there to act as a witness to them?"
Garro pointed out at the stars.
"The Emperor."
There we go. End of chapter 8. Well, holy fucking shit. Fucking hell. Well. Fucking hell. That was fucking nuts. That was fucking wild. We need another chapter. You can get another chapter. You get 2 more chapters next week. I need to go to bed. I'm down to hang out and chat for 20 minutes though, because that was a lot. That was so sick. So, right.
Cecil, mate, this was the best book reading we've had, mostly because of seeing how excited you got reading the lead up to the battle. Yeah. Well, I've not read this book, so it was like, like I said before, I know the events. I know the main events of what happens in it, but I don't know the details. Like, do you know what I mean? And then when it was just like, when I was reading the sentence and I was just like, oh my God, they're going to have a proper confrontation here. This is going to kick off right now. Like, I was just like, oh my fucking God. Right. One thing that I weren't sure of, I don't know whether I missed it when I was just reading it or whether I read it and I didn't take it in. I don't think Grulgor had a death scene. I know it's implied that he was in that room, or at least I think it's implied that he was in that room. But we didn't get, like, anything saying that he was dead or not. Like, obviously, if you know anything, just don't spoil it, because I actually don't know. This is something that I actually don't know. So, if I'm assuming that because it didn't specifically say that how he died or whatever, he's alive. I'm hedging my bets. I don't know, but I'm hedging my bets that he's alive. I think he's alive and he's somewhere on the ship and he's going to start causing problems. Because these are now fucking just jumping straight into the fucking warp. Blind, basically. Because the astropaths can't see anything because of there's too many warp storms and shit or whatever it was. So, oh, we got a sleepy Martin. I've been listening with my eyes closed. Good, because that last chapter was like the best chapter in the whole book so far, I think. Yeah, it's pretty. That was fucking mad, that. Oh, and that said, there is something significant that's yet to come because we're missing a few passengers. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We are missing a couple of passengers. But that doesn't happen until after the bombing, doesn't it? Because Horus rounds up all of the Remembrancers on the observation deck and makes them all watch the bombing of Istvan 3 and then orders his Astartes to kill them all. So I know that they did, because Mercedes, Kirill, and Euphrates are there in that bit, and they speak to Eacton Cruz, and then Eacton Cruz takes them to a Thunderhawk just before Horus gives out the order to kill them all. So that's got to be happening in the next chapter, surely. Well, how will they remember the bombing if they're dead? Seems counterintuitive. Do you know what that shows, though? The cruelty seeping into Horus. Because he just could have just had them all killed. But he was like, no. I want you to watch this first. And then I'm going to kill you. So he truly is fallen. Do you know what I mean? Because he wasn't cruel. Horus wasn't a cruel person. Gav, it implicates the other dudes and forces them to take part in killing their brothers so they can't turn back. Yeah. Shit. Fucking hell. Oh, God. Can't believe that shit, though.
They're all doing it for Yorkshire.
Who's your favourite character so far? I mean, mine is Garro. He's a fucking badass. I kind of like Grulgor as well, though, you know. As a bad guy. Where's our Nige? He's about, isn't he? He's about. There he is. He's over there, isn't he? Big Nige. Who's the worst character? Ooh. Don't know. Two Nigels. No, that other one's Bernard. That's Bernard, that. He's like, he cleans the toilet, Bernard. Bernard Bogweasel, that's what we call him. Caleb was mine, but I always like the ones that die, apparently. Worst written? I don't know. I mean, so far, Typhon's been a bit boring, but it's only because he's not really done anything. I feel like Typhon's kind of been in the background a bit. Do you know what I mean? Grulgor's been the real antagonist, hasn't he? Of this, so far. Grulgor's been Garro's main antagonist. Typhon's like above Grulgor, but there's not really been that much interaction with Typhon. The communication officer. Mars. The one who keeps coming in with the messages. Leeds J, my phone died. Gonna have to catch up tomorrow now. Oh, dude, you need to. That last fucking chapter was fucking epic. It was well good. That was my favourite chapter of the book so far. Nosset, Loken's dead, bro. He's dead. I'm sorry. I don't want to, like... I don't want to burst your bubble, Nos. But he's dead, bro. It pains me as well. My heart is broken just as much as yours, Nos. But we have to accept it. We have to accept it and let Loken rest as the hero that he is. Owen, I don't think there's anyone who I would say is badly written, just people we've not seen much of yet. Yeah. That's it, really, isn't it? It's the ones that you're not really like, well, I don't really know. Don't really know. I don't really know enough to say whether they're a good character or not. Do you know what I mean? At the moment, Typhon's just kind of like... He's just there, isn't he? He's kind of like Abaddon, but not as physically aggressive, not as openly aggressive as Abaddon. Do you know what I mean? He seems like more of a more conniving version of Abaddon at the moment, because that's all we've seen of him. Do you know what I mean? Jesky's fella Mars, that's the one. He's got bootlicker written all over him. Yeah, I kind of got that vibe a little bit. I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. Snow. At least he's still alive at this point in the book. Yeah, Loken's still alive at this point in this book. He's, Saul Tarvitz is on his way down to tell him the good news. Yeah, I physically popped though when I could see that, when it said like, oh, Garro's walking in, I was just like, oh my god. I was like, oh my god, because like, even without like reading like a few sentences ahead or anything, as soon as I saw that it said Garro's walks through the hatch, I was just like, he will 100% confront him right now, just because of how he is, just because of his character. There's no way that he's not gonna immediately confront him about it. I was like, it's totally gonna fucking kick off here, and it fucking did. I was fucking buzzing. Oh, Snow. So is my brother Torgid and me. Rest in 2 pieces. That's still too soon about Torg, man. I'm still hurting from Torgidon. He was my favourite. He was my favourite. He was my actual favourite, Torgidon. That piece of shit Axeman cut his head off. Fucking hate him. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate him. Him and Jonah are the 2 least deserving of death. Yeah, that was the Titan one, weren't it? Nosset, he's with the middle class white people in the sky now. Brother. Chris Martin. Jesus Christ. Nosset. Shadow said your moonwalk is pretty good. Come on now, people. Thank you, Shadow. Thank you. Shadow appreciates a good moonwalk when he sees one. That's it. Nice one, Shadow. I appreciate that, mate. See? See? Class. Top class moonwalker right here. Owen. Yeah, honestly, I was skimming ahead a bit too, and our reactions happened at the same time. The way you could hear your smile in your voice without even looking at the screen. Yeah. I was fucking buzzing. Snow, I still can't believe Axeman had the nerve to act all sad as well. I know. What a little dickhead, man. Little dick. Fucking Axeman. I can't believe he cut Torgidon's head off, though. Bastard, man. Fucking bastard. We lost them all, guys. We lost all of them. Loken, Torg, Tarvitz, Vipus. bullshit. Total bullshit. Like, total bullshit. But it is sick, though. When you think about it. Like, in the grand scheme of things. Like, the sacrifice they made. They knew that they weren't getting off that planet alive. And they were just like, we need to just long this out. For as long as we can. We need to stretch this fucking out and keep them here. For as long as we can. So good. Gavin, don't worry. Just think about all the great characters you haven't met yet who are fine right now. The protagonists of book 42 are just chilling off screen waiting for their novel to start. Oh, God. Yeah, I'll be honest, though. I fucking, like, I hate Grulgar, but he's one of the best characters. I think Garro and Grulgar are my favorite characters. And I feel like because we didn't witness Grulgar dying, I feel like he's still alive and on that ship somewhere. And there'll be a fucking reckoning. A proper reckoning. Like, I fucking hope there is. I fucking hope there is. No, they're just hanging out waiting for their death in book 45. Cecil, so often you read the books and know that the guy who's in the POV is just going to survive everything no matter what. It's nice to actually have a sense of peril. Yeah. I mean, I knew what was going to happen at Isfahan 3. And it was just like... Still sucks. But it's meant, though. Because of what it means for the bigger picture. It's fucking awesome. Gav, oh, don't look at the name of book 42. I picked it at random, but it turns out the name is a spoiler. Cecil, I'm getting to the point where I'm having to force myself to not read ahead. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, I know the story anyway. I know, like, all the main events of what happens and shit. But with this, I've not read this book before. So although I know the main events of things that go on, I don't know any of the details. So seeing that, like, no, like that confrontation in the weapons bay, I had no idea that happens. Like, it's so sick. It's just the feeling of, like, because they've so fully, like, fleshed out who Garro is, like, as a person. As soon as it says, like, Garro walks through the hatch, you're just like, oh shit. Because you immediately know what he's gonna do. Immediately. Like, straight away, because of how he is. Because of what you know of him as a person and what his morals are and how he approaches things. Do you know what I mean? He will not mince his words. And he won't, like, not say something if, you know. He's a man of staunch morals, isn't he? Basically. So as soon as he's walking through that hatch, you know it's kicking off. You know it's kicking off. But I liked Grulgar's speech. Grulgar's speech was cool as fuck. when he was basically denouncing the Emperor and everything. Well good. Well good. I'm shocked that Garro didn't just fucking cut Grulgor down there and then for denouncing the Emperor. But then again, as far as anybody knows, a Space Marine has never killed another Space Marine. I mean, we know about what happened at the Whisperheads, where Loken had to kill Jubal because he got possessed. Like, that's Samus thing. Do you remember? But nobody else knows about that. So as far as everybody else is concerned, Space Marines have never killed other Space Marines. It's just not something that happens. So I'm guessing that's why Garro didn't just go for Grulgor. Because as far as any of them know, well, as far as Garro knows, a Space Marine's never killed another Space Marine. And Grulgor knew that Garro wouldn't do it, which is why he's like presenting his neck to him and going, do it. Fucking do it. And knew he wouldn't. It's so sick. It's so fucking sick. It's so good. But yeah, that was my favorite chapter so far. That was easily my favorite chapter of this book. And it is only going to get better from here as well. Gav, there are in-universe hints about the Space Wolves. Yeah, I know. I know, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, as far as they all know. Like, it's not happened, has it? Officially. Do you know what I mean? Gavin, as in characters whisper to each other that they may have killed other Astartes. Maybe Garro hasn't served with the wolves. Yeah, I just mean like generally, because there's the bit in the reason why I'm going off that is because of in Horus Rising, when Jubal gets possessed by Samus and kills some of Loken's squad, and then Loken has to put him down. And then Loken as that big thing about like Astartes have never killed another Astartes before. This is like complete. This does not happen. So I'm assuming that that's the general, the general knowledge, like officially, like across. Do you know what I mean? So I'm assuming that's why Garro was hesitant as fuck to strike Grulgor until Grulgor pulled his pistol, and then it was like, right, okay, game on. And then that fucking Mokay got fucking cut in half by the fucking blast door. Fucking sick. So good though. This book's like really heating up now. Like that had me fucking popping. I was excited as shit reading that. Oh my god. Right guys, I think I'm gonna bounce. I think I'm gonna get to bed. Owen, yeah, that was fucking sick, honestly. The transition from brother to battle rival was instant. Yeah, it was. He was like, he was like, as soon as he was like putting his neck out and saying, "Go on, Garro, do it, do it, do it," like knowing that he wouldn't. And Garro was like, wanted to pull his sword, but just couldn't bring himself to do it. Yeah, and there, yeah, Cecil. The second he started, Grulgar started drawing his pistol, the sword was straight out. Yeah, as soon as he knew that Grulgar was going to try to kill him, it was fucking all right. Let's go straight into battle mode. Fucking sick, so sick. Poor fucking Caleb though. Chaka, I laughed when you accidentally gave the female a male deep voice. Yeah, I did it twice. I did that twice. Do you know why? Because I kept reading her voice, her name, because it's her name's Vought, and then the apothecary is called Voyon. So I kept reading her name because I was like pre-reading, like basically scanning the sentence, like the next sentence as I'm reading the first. So I was like scanning it and seeing Voyon, and like I was like, all right, okay, so it's Voyon then, and it wasn't. It was Vought. But yeah, I did that twice. Maybe she just had a sore throat at those points. Libertas. Yeah, that's his sword. But yeah, fucking Caleb, man. What a fucking hero Caleb was. What a fucking legend. When he was getting pounced on by like fucking loads of fucking like human workers, and they were all just like trying to rip him apart, and then he just gets up and starts fucking headbutting them. What a fucking hero. Fucking beats the shit out of all those guys, kills some of them with a fucking pistol that he took from one of them that was trying to shoot him, and then saves Garro's life by shooting Grulgar's pistol just before Grulgar shoots Loken and kills him. And then fucking Grulgar stabs him. Well, throws a knife at him. And then the virus spheres break, releasing the virus. And he, with his last ounce of strength and life, as he's stabbed through the chest with a fucking combat blade by a space marine, which will be about that big, by the way, because it's a space marine knife, so it'll be fucking massive, like humongous. It'd be like getting stabbed with a massive sword. And he's got the virus tearing his body apart. With his last bit of fucking life and strength, he manages to stand up and close the blast door, saving Garro and fucking Voyon and what's he called? What's he fucking called? The other one, Sender or whatever he's called. Owen, that would make him the first martyr of the God Emperor. Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. I would think so, yeah. I would say so. Must be. Sendek. Yeah, that's right. Sendek. Chaka, it annoys me that Warhammer don't know you're doing this. You should be sponsored by them. Well, if Warhammer did know I was doing this, they'd probably tell me to stop doing it. So. Nah, I don't think they would. Cecil, bro, got an entire machete launched through his torso and shrugged it off to shut the hatch. And not just launched through his torso, launched through his torso by a fucking Astartes. Like, I'm surprised it didn't just go right through him. Like, you know. Chaka, why? They're fiercely protective of their IP. Basically. That's it. But, yeah. They're just crazy protective of their IP. Right, guys. You beautiful queechlings, you. I am going to bounce because I am knackered. I need to get some sleep because I got to be up early with the kids again tomorrow. But tomorrow, it's Thursday Night Terror. I don't know what game we're playing. I'll have to have a look. See what I've got. Chaka, I'm happy to see the shops that sponsor Scarlet, though. Yeah, they sent her loads of stuff. It's great. It's awesome, man. She was proper gassed with that. So, but yeah, she's got loads of painting to do. She's got fucking Element Games sent her a fucking massive fucking army box of Sisters of Battle, which is fucking crazy. So sick. And then fucking Wayland Games sent her a load of fucking hobby supplies and shit. She's got like all new brushes, paint markers, like a palette, like loads of stuff. Well sick. Well jealous. Right, guys, I'm gonna bounce. If you're new to our channel and you haven't yet joined our Discord, please do join our Discord. I've just dropped that link in the chat there. We have got the best community in the whole world. Everyone there is so fucking super cool and so lovely. So click that link, introduce yourself, make a shitload of new friends. Because everyone there is so cool and you would be super welcome. Also, if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support me and the stream, I've just dropped a brand new merch drop for the autumn. Loads of cool stuff on there, loads of new designs and shit. Beautiful fucking blood-drenched version of the Slam King logo, courtesy of Gore Crusher. He's done a fucking great job on that. So take a look, have a peruse, see if anything tickles your fucking pickle. But yeah, I'm gonna go to bed because I am super fucking tired. I am so tired. But I will be back on tomorrow at, I reckon it'll be about 7 o'clock, depending on what time the missus gets home. But it's Thursday Night Terror. I don't know what game we're going to play. I'll have a look what I've got, and then I'll let you know in the Discord. But one last thing before I go. It's our fucking sub-goal reward Discord hangout on Saturday, 8:30 PM UK time, in the voice and video channel in our Discord. So be fucking there. Come and hang out. It was fucking awesome last time. We're just gonna hang out, have a laugh, play a few rounds of fucking Among Us, and yeah, it should be fucking sick. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Snow's right. If you want to be more hydrated, get a water bottle. He's just dropped that link in there. I've also dropped a new water bottle with the new Blood Drenched logo on the Fourth Wall merch site as well. So there's 2 different fucking water bottles. This is the OG version, though. The OG version. But there is a Blood Drenched version on the new merch site, so. Right, guys. Oh, shit. Fucking hell, what's going on there? Now I can be doubly hydrated. Exactly. That's what it's all about, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Right, I am going to say a sweet, sweet goodbye to you all. I don't know what the fuck Nigel's doing. Where's he at? Nigel! Are you coming saying goodbye to our wonderful Queechlings? Are you coming saying goodbye or what? Oh, here he is. Fucking hell, finally. Nice of you to turn up, Nigel. By the way. Do you know what I mean? Right, so I will see you all tomorrow. From me and from Nigel.
Thank you so much for joining us, dear Queechlings. We will see you next week.
Peace and fucking love. Good night, everyone. Mwah.